How's everybody doing today? So my message today is called Be Courageous. Take it like a man. Little play on words. But what I mean by that is take it like a man means to take the responsibility of a man, but also take the privileges of being a man. And you see up there, that's actually my granddaughter when she was much, much younger. Man, I still remember that day like it was yesterday because they grew up so fast. You know, one thing that's always stuck with me is when I held my first biological son for the first time. It was a very special moment for me, as it is for everybody. But first, how many men in here, by show of hands, have biological children? Quite a few. How many of you have children through a blended family? Quite a few. How many of you have adopted children? A few. I have all of those. Literally, all of them. I have adopted children, biological children, children through a blended family. And I remember holding my son for the first time, my first biological child. And I remember always thinking that I knew what kind of a sacrifice God made by giving his son for us. I thought I knew what it felt like for Jesus to make that sacrifice and lay his life down for us. I had no idea until I held that little boy in my hands. And for the first time realized that no matter what, I would lay my life down for this child right then and there. I would do anything for that child. It hits different. And for the first time I realized the sacrifice that was made for me. For the very first time. Which I want to bring you to our first Bible verse of the day. And that's Genesis 18:19. For I have chosen him so that he will direct his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just. And if we go to our fill-in, dads, you have been chosen by God in this time and place to direct your children in the ways of the Lord. Men, there are so many snares that our children hit in life, right? Snare of laziness, snare of pornography, the snare of drugs and alcohol, immorality. There's so many snares that our children are going to face. No matter how much we try to protect them, those snares and traps are laid for them. We have a big responsibility, but here's the thing. Sometimes, men, there's snares and traps laid for us that can prohibit us from being there for our children because we have our own snares and traps. How about the snare of passivity? I don't know about you, but, you know, like I said, I have adopted children through a blended family. My first two children, I call it on-the-job training. They were 2 and 1 when I fell in love with them, and that's truly what happened. I fell in love with them, and I was 2 and 1 when I became their dad. And I still remember my daughter. One day, you know, I had just met her not too long ago, and she came up to me, and she was 2 years old, and she talked like she was in her 3rd year of college. And she came up to me and said, "You're my dad." Wow. Immediately, a sense of responsibility came over me that I didn't know before. I had on-the-job training, and I did a lot of things wrong early in parenthood because I did not have a father at home. As those of you who heard me speak before, I did not have that example to look to. So I literally was on the job training. So the snare of passivity is something that's very common in men. We work all day. We come home. We kick off our boots. We put on the news. We grab a Coke from the fridge and we sit down and we want to unplug. But I challenge you, that's exactly the time that we need to plug in. When we get home and those kids and that wife haven't seen us all day, that's when we need to plug in. Hey, I'm guilty of it. There's times I come home and I talk for a living. I talk all day long. Sometimes I'm at my word max, and I've hit my word limit for the day. And Mary worked Department of Social Services. She didn't have that interaction all day like I had. So she'd come home and she's ready to talk. And I'm the room's spinning for me. My room's just spinning. And she's like, you checked out. Man, I apologize for that, Mary. I needed to check in. I needed to find that extra gear because she needed to be heard. Your children need to be heard. We need to plug in when we're at home. I want to turn your attention to Proverbs 4, 1 and 2. I love this one. Listen, my sons, to a father's instruction. Pay attention and gain understanding. I give you sound learning, so do not forsake my teaching. Dads, you have so much wisdom to offer your children. So much. Don't underestimate your powerful instruction. Ask God for the wisdom you need to guide your children. God is asking you to form the smallest battle formation He ever created. And He's asking you to lead it. It's called the family unit. If the evil one can take you out, he has nullified your whole family. Don't be mistaken and think there's not a spiritual war out there, because there is. Now, society's weird. I mean, we all remember shows like, some of you that are my age of 39 remember. I know what you're thinking. It's not gray, it's blonde highlights, and it happens to be in fashion. Judgmental people on Father's Day. You remember his show, Home Improvement, Tim the Toolman Taylor, always getting hurt, doing something wrong. You know, society's weird how they try to nullify a father's power. You have these shows out there, and they make fathers look goofy and silly, even a little buffoonish. Because that's the only way they can take away your God-given power. You are powerful in your home. You, and only you, can relinquish that power. That power cannot be stripped of you. Only you can give it away. Guys, your kids don't need you to be perfect. I made that mistake, trying to be perfect for my kids. They don't need you to be perfect. They know you're not perfect. What they need you to be is real. What they need you to do is, in your times of weakness or flaw, own it and let them learn through it. I want to do a demonstration for you, because oftentimes through the snare of passivity, through trying to be perfect for our children, sometimes when they get older, we let them walk through some of the snares themselves. I'm going to ask Mary to come on up here. We got some traps and snares here to illustrate snares in life. I'll take these one at a time if you don't mind. Stand there for a minute. That just means I get to look at you longer. It's my hot tamale there. So this is the snare of sexual immorality. This is the snare of drugs and alcohol. Now I'm going to ask a volunteer to come up before I lay the rest of these, because I don't want them to see where they're at. My son Jordan, would you come up, please, to this side of the stage? To this side of the stage here? Over here? And I'm going to ask my beautiful daughter-in-law, Angeles, can you come up here? I know. You're not going to have to do anything. You're just going to receive your husband. I just want you to stand right here. We're going to have your husband walk into your arms just like he did a few years back when you married him. This is the snare of pornography. And before we lay the rest of them, Jordan, why don't you come on up? I got a nice, cushy gel blindfold for you. Would you put that on? Can you see me? Okay, just stand right there. Don't move. And our final snare. Let's see. Let's put this right over here. Okay. Now, these are large rat traps. When a rat gets caught in them, it literally can snap their vertebrae in half. You like that? Now, Jordan, you have all these snares over here through life. What I'd like you to do is just walk forward when I tell you to. Your wife is straight ahead of you. She's going to put out her hands, and she's going to receive you if you can make it through the minefield that is called life. Go ahead. Keep walking. Walk. Walk with conviction. Stop. Jordan, stop. Follow me, son. Walk straight. We're going to go to the left. Stay on the path. You need to go right. You need to trust your Father. Walk straight. There you go. They were never set. Good job, Jordan. I didn't set him because I didn't know how mad I was at him, so I didn't want to. Can we go to Proverbs 3:11 and 12, please? My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline and do not resent his rebuke, because the Lord disciplines those he loves. As a father, the son is who he delights in. Dads, don't be afraid to discipline. The Lord disciplines those he loves. Let his example motivate you to love your children enough to discipline them appropriately. Understand the word discipline. It's not pow pow. It's to correct their path, to guide them and navigate them through the snares that they are going to face in life. It means you always won't be Mr. Popular at home. Sometimes discipline and correcting your child makes you very unpopular. You're not here to win a popularity contest. You're here to raise men and women in Christ Jesus. You know, like I told you, I did not have a good father growing up, and Father's Day was always hard for me until I became a dad, and now it's the most humbling day of the year for me. Because, my God, with the childhood that I had, with the mistakes that I've made, for God to choose me, to have 9 children through those 3 avenues, wow, chose me to be their dad. I also now have 15 grandchildren, all at 39. There you go again. 15 grandchildren, and each one is just the most precious thing I've ever seen in my life. So Father's Day is a very humbling day for me. God will take the fatherless and put men in your life, if only for a season, when you need it the most. And it took me years to realize that. I was already an adult before I was able to look back and see when certain men entered stage left into my life, if only for a season that God had put them there. When I was growing up with my brothers, we grew up, like I've told you, very poor, no father in the house. We ran amok in the streets. You know, my mother was not very attentive and had her own demons she was battling, and there was an old, crusty curmudgeon 2 doors down named Jack. And Jack was the kind of guy that was always yelling. Everything was yelling to him. Even the conversation was yelling to him. He always had a little stub of a cigar in his mouth, always. And he had a big boot, and he walked with a big limp from a car accident, I'm told, that destroyed his leg. And he was the grumpiest guy. I mean, we could not stand him. But he had a great hill in his front yard, and me and my brothers used to take our bikes and ride up the hill, and he'd come running out, "You God-forsaken kids." One day there was a knock on our door, and it was old man Jack. And I'm like, oh my God, we did something to his yard. My mother answers the door, and he says, I know you got your hands full with these boys, and I know you're alone. I'm the manager of the bowling alley here in the city, and we have kids' leagues on the weekends. I'd like to take them down, give you a little break, and take them down and enroll them in a kids' league. She said, well, I don't have the money for that. He goes, I didn't ask you for that. Happy to take care of it. Well, that was a punishment. Now, every Saturday morning, we had to go in old man Jack's car with a little stub of a cigar and stay at the bowling alley. We didn't just stay for the league. He kept us there all darn day, every Saturday. And this grumpy old man, we'd get done with league, and he'd say, kids, get away from my desk. Go to the snack bar, get a burger. I said, Jack, we don't have money. I didn't ask you if you had money. I said, go get a burger. And we'd bowl all day. He'd have men very, very good bowlers, come alongside us and teach us. Next thing you know, we're spending all weekend there. On Sundays, he's picking us up again. We got really good at bowling. And he started entering us in kids' tournaments. And we started winning state championships. And we started winning some titles. And we started having some self-esteem. And we started having other male bowlers, adults, come alongside us. It wasn't until years later I realized what that man did for us. How he got us out of an abusive home, if only for a weekend. And how he taught us to do something that gave us self-esteem and worth. It wasn't until years later when he was gone, I didn't have a chance to tell him that not all angels wear wings. Some of them have a stubby cigar and a boot. And then I learned the real story of Jack. He had years earlier not been the greatest husband or father himself, and he was drunk driving with his wife and his son, and they died in a car accident that he caused. And I can't tell you how many young men like me went through that bowling alley because of old man Jack being crusty and making him go and making him eat for free and bowl for free and get out of abusive situations. Who are you mentoring? There's a young man or young woman in your circle, dare I say, even in this church maybe. Who are you mentoring? Who is in a situation that has no way out? There's another one for you. This one might hit a little harder. Who's mentoring you? I don't care if you're 21, 35, 39. It's getting better. 45, 50, 60. Who's mentoring you? There's somebody that has more experience with what you're going through, and they've been through it. Can we go to Joshua 1:9, please? Joshua 1:9 says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Gentlemen, let God be your strength. Seek him daily and know he is with you wherever you go." Gentlemen, it's time. It's Father's Day and it's time. It's time we be courageous. Not just with ourselves, but with one another. Men, we have to be courageous for one another. It's time we stop apologizing to the world for being men. It's time to be courageous and be men of God and own it and wear it on our sleeves and live it. Guys, over here on 3 podiums, I have a resolution, and you can go ahead and put it up. I'm going to take this resolution today, myself, because I strive to be better myself. I'm going to read this right now, and please read along with me. I do solemnly resolve before God to take full responsibility for myself, my wife, and my children. I will love them, protect them, serve them, and teach them the Word of God as the spiritual leader of my home. I will be faithful to my wife, to love and honor her, and be willing to lay down my life for her as Jesus Christ did for me, as long as she roots for the Yankees. I will bless my children and teach them to love God with all their hearts, all their minds, and with all their strength. I will train them to honor authority and live responsibly. I will confront evil, pursue justice, and love mercy. I will pray for others to treat them with kindness, respect, and compassion. I will work diligently to provide for the needs of my family. I will forgive those who have wronged me, and I will reconcile with those that I have wronged. I will learn from my mistakes, repent of my sins, and walk with integrity as a man answerable to God. I will seek to honor God, be faithful to his church, obey his word, and do his will. I will courageously work with the strength God provides to fulfill this resolution for the rest of my life and in his glory. And at the bottom, our verse of the day. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. It's a special day. Not only is it Father's Day, all my local children are here. I'm just like I said, it's a humbling day for me because I get to watch them into parenthood. And, it's funny. We reminisce all the time over lunch or over dinner about childhood memories. I don't understand why the only memories they remember is the ones where I get hurt. They remember those. One time I was clearing a clog in the sink, and, I bought some of this very harsh industrial cleaner. It even had a skull and crossbones on it. And it still wasn't clear enough, so I stuck my hand in there and I cleared it. Next thing you know, I had no hair on my arm at all. They thought that was hysterical, The hair eventually grew back, But that stink has never been clogged again. That's right. That's right. So who won that one? Another memory they tell all the time is Andrew broke down one time, and, the radiator was blown. It was smoking. And I bought some of that. There's liquid metal that you could buy. When you put it in, it seals it. And I put cold water in. Guys, never put cold water in a hot radiator. I learned that. So I put cold water in a hot radiator, and I hear gurgle, 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 gurgle. And I'm like, what is that? And I stuck my head down there. Oh, they were rolling on the ground. I had no vision, but they're rolling on the ground. They thought that was the most hysterical thing in the world. I eventually got my eyesight back. By the way, the radiator was fixed. So that's what they remember. So if you want to impress your kids, fall. Go throw yourself off a roof or something. They'll get a kick out of it. The resolution. I had a bunch of these printed up. I had it printed up on heavy cardstock paper because this is not just a piece of paper. I'm going to take it seriously. I'm going to frame it, and I'm going to mount it in my house. And I'm going to mount it in my house somewhere where every day I have to walk by it and remind myself what I have committed to, what I have promised. Guys, there's two things in life, contracts and covenants. A contract automatically has escape clauses and ways out of that contract. A covenant does not. This is a covenant. So I'm going to invite the men up in a second if you want to take one. Read it and sign it. Now you'll notice on here, there's a place for 2 witnesses on the bottom. That is not for your wife to sign. No, I'm telling you why. I'm serious. Your wife cannot hold you accountable for your manhood and leadership. It's not fair to her. We have to hold each other accountable, guys, to our headship and leadership. You have to be humble enough and serious enough that when a man comes alongside you and tries to correct your path, listen. But your wife cannot hold you accountable for your manhood. She cannot hold you accountable for your leadership. I'm here to tell you one thing. Young men come to me all the time, and I'm privileged to have a bunch of young men, some of them here today, that consider me a father figure to them. And I tell them all the time, when a man comes to me and says, my wife won't follow me, I read the Bible, but she will not follow. Or dare they use that S word, submit, that men often misinterpret. The first thing I say to them is, don't tell me what your wife won't do. Tell me what in your leadership is causing her fear. Because a godly woman always wants to be led. A godly woman wants a godly man to lead her and wants to trust in that headship. So, guys, don't look at what she's not doing. Look at what is causing her fear in her heart in your leadership. Take a personal inventory.